Ladies and gentlemen, until Jim Jordan becomes Speaker, hopefully very soon, Trump would accept a short speakership or a position as Speaker of the House, interim Speaker of the House, if he was offered the position. I think that if it gets heated up, I think that Trump could very well become Speaker of the House. It would be the greatest nightmare of wonderful, morally superior Democrats. It would be hilarious. He could actually begin impeachment of Biden as somebody who was impeached because he had the audacity to ask another country if Biden had committed a crime, which shouldn't be like a controversial thing. Everyone knows that Joe and Hunter engaged in an obvious graft and bribery scheme. You'd have to be a complete imbecile to think that people are giving, countries, businesses, corporations, moguls are giving millions upon millions of dollars into shady shell corporations linked to Joe and Hunter for actual goods and services, for an actual business relationship or some kind of business venture. They're giving money because it's called Tammany Hall. Honest graft is what Tammany Hall used to call it. And it's the same thing that we saw 150 years ago. What happens is a Democrat like Joe or Hunter or Bill or Hillary uses politics to make money. Trump owns hotels, businesses, golf courses, The Apprentice. So he made millions upon millions, billions in real estate, in Hollywood, throughout the world with casinos, or within the U.S. casinos. Okay, so he is a business person. Okay, he's making money because he's providing, he owns real estate, he owns a hotel, or he lends his name. He builds a brand. Okay, he's an entrepreneur. What Joe and Hunter and Bill and Hillary and others do is they get $1 million in speaking engagements for 6 months or for a year. Or they get hundreds of millions of dollars into a philanthropic organization. Or they get hundreds of millions of dollars into shell corporations. And they trade on their family name because it's linked to the government. This is called graft, and it's a form of bribery. And it's a pay-to-play, quid pro quo type of illegal arrangement. Now, 50 intelligence officials lied to the American public. It's actually the antithesis of intelligence to do so. But they said, well, it's a plot by another country. Why is it always a plot by the Kremlin to inform you of how corrupt Democrats are? You'd have to be a naive fool to believe any of this. So Trump as Speaker of the House, just for a short term, would be fantastic before Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan alone, people, Jim Jordan alone will increase Trump's poll numbers for a number of reasons, because he's going to expedite impeachment. Hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel, ladies and gentlemen, to read my writing in The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist, and other publications. Go to hagoodman.com. To my Patreon, thank you. To the members on this channel, I love you. Thank you so very much, Patreon members. And to the super thanks, thank you so very, very much. Trump is already beating mashed potato brains in an average of polls. He's up by 1 point. He's up by 1 point after having been indicted 4 times and impeached twice. Can somebody explain to me how Trump could be up by 1 point having been indicted 4 different times for completely bogus, absurd allegations? Okay, I explained in the segment prior to this one, and the Florida judge agrees with me. And anyone who understands classified data knows that a president has the power to declassify. Okay, the FEC didn't find Trump in New York. They fined Clinton, whose headquarters, I believe, is in New York, and who, by the way, will be the Democratic nominee. I believe Hillary Clinton will be the Democratic nominee, ladies and gentlemen. And so you're going to have Trump, Clinton, 2024. Nobody in all of YouTube has even touched upon that, but I've been saying that for the past 20 years. Okay, so Well, at least since 2016. So you have this concerted effort, this maniacal, apoplectic, never-ending mania to try to make anyone who supports Trump this extreme, backwards group of people. And the reality is that if all of media, intel officials, if every single journalist out there, almost every single writer, is trying desperately to make Biden look good, yet he's losing in an average of polls after Trump has been indicted 4 different times. What does that tell you? That means that the American public generally realizes what's going on. They understand that Trump had a great economy, record low poverty, record highs in household median income. His economy was a fantastic. We didn't have interest rates through the roof. Okay, we didn't have all of these problems, especially in Europe, and now we see in other regions of the world. And it's just like every single time Democrats try to do something on the world stage in terms of foreign policy for the past 6, 7, 8, actually since President Obama's tenure, because you can look at what took place in Europe. It happened during President Obama's tenure. Okay, that country initially was invaded during President Obama's tenure, and then, of course, during Mashed Potato Brain Joe's tenure. Okay, not during Trump. The hostilities were still taking place, but that was from President Obama's tenure. The issue is that they trust certain countries in the world that obviously shouldn't be negotiated with unless you have an ironclad way of verifying. So trust but verify is what Reagan used to say. But you have chaos on the world stage for over a year. You have interest rates through the roof. You still have inflation, by the way. They say inflation is about 3.5% or so. That's nonsense. Is inflation 3.5%? You tell me. I don't think it is. Okay? And you look, and it's like, they say that inflation is, they said it was temporary. Biden's administration said it was temporary. And then, then they said, oh, well, we have to raise interest rates through the roof to battle the inflation we didn't think was an issue. Then they say, oh, look what we did. We lowered inflation that we created by forcing and pushing people to shut down economic activity. See, half of the country, by the way, the conservative half, didn't want to shut down economic activity. So when they then say in a rebuttal, they say, well, everyone had to do it. No, nobody had to do it. You had bureaucrats that Democrats worshipped who said, shut down economic activity. You can't work. And then you can't work, but we're going to give you a stimulus and we're going to give you an eviction moratorium. This way we're seen as the good people, the wonderful, morally superior. The same thing, like there's a lot of people who vote Democrat, and I was a Democrat my whole life up until about 6, 7 years ago. But people vote Democrat, they say, oh, well, Democratic Party's better for the poor. Well, they keep people in poverty, number one. And then they say, okay, here's the check. Well, but you're in poverty. You're in poverty because of Democratic policies. Shutting down economic activity was one example. But if you can look throughout the country, areas of major cities in this country, major metropolitan areas that had like difficulties in terms of socioeconomic issues and poverty. Poverty was at a record low with Trump. It's much higher with Biden. But if you look at the poverty rate in urban areas, and you look at the poverty rate where Democrats control certain regions of the country, and you look at the poverty rate in the 90s, the 2000s, and today, you will see that poverty has remained the same, maybe gotten a little better, but still far higher than the national average. Then Democrats say, oh, well, we care about the poor because we're going to give a social safety net. Yeah, but you didn't care about the poverty. You're fixing the symptom, but not the cause of the ailment. What's causing it? Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Trump as Speaker of the House would be absolutely fantastic before Jim Jordan becomes Speaker. Give me your thoughts. Thank you.